Okay, first thing, I'm gonna try and talk in a normal voice. Dr. Avant had mentioned that I was really quiet in my last video because I wait till my kids go to sleep to do this. So I'm sorry about that if it was hard to understand last time. The first aha that I am going to address, I guess, is I'm not sure if it's an aha because I don't recognize it in our society, but more so an aha because of the parental response. So, like, Dr. Osset, however you pronounce it, talks about how parents sort of let their kids get away with this, like, give me more materialistic and socially mature desires that their kids have. And a large part of the reason they do that is because they want their kids to feel, or maybe not that they want their kids to feel like they belong, but that they want their kids to belong. Like, they want their children to be normal. I think, like, every parent gives speeches that are like, you don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be your own person. But deep down, there's a part of them that just wants their child to, like, fit in and not. And I mean, a huge part of that is probably fear of bullying. Um, if every kid on the volleyball team is wearing those short biker shorts, and I reference this because when I was in high school, what was cool, like what everybody wore, were like kind of oversized boy shorts, and we tucked in like tank tops into them. And I remember the first time one of my friend's kids had a volleyball tournament, she was wearing those really short kind of almost like boy brief shorts, like they kind of look like underwear. And I was not appalled, but I was like kind of shocked. Like, it's like, those are so little. Like, I can't even imagine how you're comfortable with her doing that. And she said, she was like, can you imagine if every other girl was wearing those shorts and I had forced my child to wear the shorts we wore when we played volleyball in high school? And it's not that she wants her daughter to be, for lack of a better term, it's not that she wants her daughter to be a sheep or just do what everybody else does. But the idea is that, like, she wants her to feel normal and feel like she fits in if she wants to. It's probably the same argument as the kid who doesn't want knockoff jeans because then everybody's gonna know they're poor or something. Like, it's this, like, kind of general, not necessarily, like, be like everyone else, but, like, still be able to still feel like you're coming from the same place as everyone else. And so what he writes about in this is, like, parents in this technological age where kids are asking for things that are, like, way different than they were asking for, like, 15, 20 years ago. His example is things like spas and mani-pedis. Even just those two examples, those are, like, things that are kind of beyond what I would have ever thought of asking for. I would have been like, Worlds of Fun, I want to go to the water park. Those would have been my extravagant things. So I think what he points out is that, like, they're introducing these new things that parents now have to be like, oh, okay, I want to make sure that they feel like they fit in, and I guess I'll give this to them, but they're being asked for more than they might have been asked for 10 years ago. So he's talking about, like, figuring out a way to be able to, like, I guess, manage that, which, I don't know if I know if there's an answer to that. I'm sure nobody does. That's why they're still writing books about it. But, the idea is, like, if the needs and wants of the younger generation are going to get bigger and crazier, weekend getaways, spa getaways, etc., how do you just go with it, or like do you create these boundaries? Because I think in the past parents kind of let their kids go with it. I mean, if a kid wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese, even if the parent was like, that's a waste of money and it's boring and everyone's bored after an hour, they still did it because that was like what you did. That was like what you. Or Girl Scouts, I mean, there's just an endless amount of like examples of things we've done in the past. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. The next part that I found really interesting, which I think is somewhat obvious, I've talked about it a little bit on the forum, is the idea of like technology for education. But what I like actually found really interesting, and it was not in this book necessarily, it was in the articles that I was reading, is they were talking about the way in which technology helps people, maybe not with learning disabilities, but people with like the, see, I feel like I'm saying the word inability, but just people who don't have the same ability to like speak up or don't feel confident or get anxious, like, but how technology has like helped them, which I think the reason that it interests me or gave me my aha moment for the week is just thinking about like how that's probably been overlooked for a really long time. It's like we have focused on people who actually have like learning disorders, but I think probably brushed people aside that maybe just didn't feel comfortable in a learning environment, an educational environment, and maybe brushed them off as like lazy or disinterested. I mean, I think I can even come from a personal, like, I was really lucky to have a pretty rallying mom. I mean, she got mad at me a lot, but she supported me pretty fiercely too. Um, I had a teacher, I was very talkative, very social, and my mom, as well as the music I listened to, taught me at a young age that I didn't have to respect people just because they were older. I mean, obviously, my mom was like, your knee jerk should be to respect people, but if people don't show you respect, they don't deserve it either. I had one teacher I just couldn't get along with. I thought she was really rude, and so I was kind of disrespectful. As an adult looking back, I can be like, I probably didn't need to act the way I did, but I did. Um, and she called my mom in and told my mom, your daughter's spiraling out of control. And my mom was like, that's an awful thing to say about a student in your class. And the reason I bring this story up is I think about how I didn't have a learning disorder or anything like that. I wasn't interested in her class, and I wasn't interested in her, and I didn't want to raise my hand. And most of the time she shot me down. She was more conservative, and I would argue with her about stuff, and she was just like not interested. So I think about how much that happened to me. That like my desire to just kind of like not take part in those classes probably hindered me in some parts of my like growing up until I was older and I had good teachers who really like focused on me. But this technology that like kind of allows students to maybe sit back in class and not take part, but be able to take part in discussions like online or in forums or whatever, where I think aside from the fact that you might have some fears of like about your writing skills or punctuation or whatever, besides that, being able to discuss things on a forum allows you to kind of think about what you're going to say, take a second. And this isn't like just in a college level. I mean, like in high schools, kids being able to express how they feel without feeling immediate judgment. Someone might come back later and say something, but it's not the same as raising your hand in class and someone saying something snarky or whatever. But I just thought that was like really interesting because I think we probably do have a lot of students who do underwhelming work in high school not because they're underwhelming, but because there are opportunities where maybe the underwhelming part. Anyway, I would think it would really excite me to see the way that that helps kids who have a hard time focusing focus a little more. Bye.